Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Lynda Hammond on the show with us. She's a TV news anchor, reporter, author, writer, and a bikini competitor, among many other things. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Lynda, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what inspired you to adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle?
Well, I was born. And what I mean by that is I've always taken care of myself. I never really had a problem wanting to work out, wanting to eat well, wanting to drink water. You know what I mean? It just always felt like a huge part of my life. That's not to say I haven't had problems. There have been many problems, but I always have treasured working out. And I always think, maybe sometime in my life, I won't be able to climb a set of stairs. So I better climb those stairs now. So I always want to stay in shape. I always think about how I can work out.
So I always like to make the comparison. If you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how people got in shape, whether it's their nutrition, their diet, how many reps they do, what exercises they do. Every little thing sort of adds up to make a person look the way that they look. Was that hard for you starting out when you really got serious into the working out? What worked best for you? Because like I said, if you were to go up to someone and ask like, hey, how did you do that? What really worked best for you? What worked best for them might not necessarily have worked best for you.
Right. Everybody's different, but there are two things that are the same for all of us. And that is, calories in, calories out. So you don't want to eat too much, but also working out is important. We'll probably get into this a little bit too. I have chronic back issues and I know what I can do, how to do it, and what it's going to look like when I do it. And what I mean by that is if I'm lifting weights, my deadlifts do not look like anybody else's, because I have to modify everything or else I'm not going to be able to do it. So I might look, like a beginner, and I don't care. I don't lift extremely heavy weights because I really can't handle it with my back, and I don't care. I know that some people might look at me and say, man, she's been lifting weights for how long? And she's only doing, a 45-pound squat. Well, that's good for me, because I'm lucky to be where I am after the back issues I've had. So yeah, I just think you do what you can do and don't worry about what you look like. You are doing this for you. At the gym, you do what you can. Like for instance, I can do a 45-pound squat, maybe 50, maybe 60, and I have done 70. It just all depends on my back. I do what I can do, and I don't care what anybody thinks about it. Some of it may look crazy, but do what you can do. You know what? I'm there. I'm doing the best I can, and that's what everybody should hope for.
Absolutely. I always say just do what works best for you, because a lot of people, they try to follow all these fit celebrities or they try to follow all these people on Instagram, and they don't realize that their body works different than your body. What they're able to do, you might not be able to do. And then they just try to emulate that person as opposed to just being their own individual and just finding out what works best for them. So I couldn't agree more. And just having that bad back too, that's so inspirational that, you're still working out and still doing that, because I know so many people that have like debilitating diseases like that who then just sort of give up, but just to still have that drive and that passion, it's so inspirational. But as you can see, I'm a very pale person myself. I'm from the upper Midwest. What was that experience like putting that tan on for the first time? Because so many people talk about, like you see muscles that you never even knew that you had. Everything really seems to pop out. What was that experience like for you, that first time with that tan on?
Actually, I despised it.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of offensive. And I kind of thought, remember the old lady in Something About Mary?
Yep.
I hated it. I just kept thinking, okay, why do we all have to be so dark? Why can't we all just be lighter and get on stage or be natural and get on stage? And now I kind of understand it because of the lights and everything. So I don't like the tan. That's my least favorite part about it, because I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it smells. I don't like the way it looks. But it's a part of the show. So
oh yeah, we've heard so many stories where it's just like, yeah, you can't do anything with it. You can't really sit down on anything because it just spreads everywhere. You kind of just got to be like immobile for the next couple of days afterwards. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you go through in order to make it look, the presentation aspect of it. But it's one of those things too where a lot of people just don't realize just how annoying it can be for a lot of competitors and what they just go through. So I just love to bring awareness to that. But also I always like to add, if you were to poll the general population and see who would be willing to basically walk up on stage and show off in a bikini, there'd be such a low percentage of people that would be willing to do that. Did you find that, I mean, you already had the courage to do it, because I can imagine, you know, being on TV, that already takes a lot of courage and that takes a lot of drive and determination. Do you find that it was easier for you then to just sum up that courage to go up on stage and do that, as opposed to someone else who didn't have that background in media and just being on a camera a lot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was a lot easier just because, you know, I used to broadcast to tens of thousands of people twice a day on a half-hour show. So it was not that big of a deal. But at the same time, it was different because I'm not on stage. You know, people think when you're on TV, you're talking to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, which is true. But in essence, it's just a camera.
Yep.
You know, so you're kind of comfortable with the camera. But yeah, so that was a little different, but it was fun. And, you know, I think it helped my stage presence.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, just having that background, it's such a huge, important thing. And now I always love to ask, because I have a lot of up-and-coming bands on the show. I have a lot of health and fitness competitors. But I like to ask the same general question. For my bands, I like to ask, you know, what is that experience like performing live? But I also feel that that applies to my fitness competitors. What is that experience like for you when you get to walk on stage and, you know, show off, like you said? I mean, you may not have been prepping that much, but, I mean, just that hard work and all that drive and determination that you put weeks upon weeks in to just get that final package down. What is that feeling like for you when you get to step on stage?
Oh, I think it's exhilarating. And it's, you know, you feel confident. It boosts your confidence. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, come on, you get on a bikini and walk around, big deal. But it does boost your confidence. I mean, I don't care what you look like. Maybe you're still 10 pounds overweight or whatever. But if you've worked hard and maybe before you were 50 pounds overweight, then good for you. Get on stage and do it. So yeah, it's a good feeling.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always liked to say, because being a pitcher, I mean, you always have that one moment where it's just like you and the batter or the catcher. I always got to say, you got to find that moment that you have where you just really, really enjoy something, because it can make you feel so alive, and it just brings such joy that everyone just needs to find that one moment, whether it be anything in your life. That's my one message through all of this can be, is just find what really brings you joy and just go for it. I couldn't bring a better set of advice to anything in my life. But I always also like to ask, when the show's over, what is your favorite post-show meal?
I like pizza, but also I have to have a Butterfinger Blizzard. But remember, at the same time, I don't deprive myself that much. I mean, almost every show, I still had a few chocolate covered peanuts the week of. You know, I wasn't, oh my gosh, I cannot have any fruit. I cannot do this. That would drive me crazy. Yeah. So I just eat well as often as I can. Again, I don't do a show and then gain 30 pounds. Yep. To me, that would totally defeat the purpose of being in shape in the first place. Mm-hmm. Because yo-yo dieting, you don't want a yo-yo diet. And if you do a show and then gain weight, do a show, then gain weight, you're yo-yo dieting, and that's bad for your body.
I couldn't agree more. All these people that we have on that just go to the extreme, and I've had a guy and a girl that both came in at like 2% body fat to their competition. I was like, okay, that's just mind-boggling, and that is not healthy at all.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, just just not going to that extreme. It's just so important for me too as well. But one of the myths that I love to bust on this show, I mean, just absolutely love, is that it's gotten better over the last 5 years, I'd say, because of Instagram. But there's still a big belief among women where if they touch one weight, they're just gonna Hulk out and just gain 50 pounds of muscle overnight. And I always say to that, you know, if that's the case, you know, being a guy, I'd still say sign me up for that. I'd be one of the first people that would be like Black Friday shopping. I'd be waiting outside for 2 days to get in and get on that deal. Did you ever have that fear when you were really starting out? And even if you didn't, What is your main response to that? Because I bet you probably have heard that once or twice at least.
Oh, yeah, I hear that a lot. Women cannot bulk up on their own. They need actual drugs to do that. They can tighten their muscles and build muscles, but they're not going to be bulky as in looking like you're on steroids, which some women do. That's their choice. Again, I think steroids defeats the purpose of being in good shape because they're bad for your body and illegal. And I also only do natural shows, by the way. But yeah, I never worried about that because as I started, like you asked me at the beginning, how long have I been doing this? Well, basically all my life. But in terms of weights and serious weights, I did them in college for a while and then lost that when I got my first job, by the way, in Duluth, Minnesota at a
Oh,
TV
wow.
station there. Yeah. And then I started back up with weights maybe about 8 years ago. And that's really helped my back quite a bit. But I was never, all the time that I ever lifted weights, I've never been worried about bulking up because I know the true bulk, the true kind of fatty look and big and no definition is when you do drugs. When you have definition, when you're lean and you have muscle, that's just from lifting weights. And it makes
Absolutely.
me feel good too. Because of my back problem, it motivates me to work out all that much more. I do weights, I run, I do yoga, and I'm happy to say that looking better, looking fitter, looking leaner is a side effect of my medicine because I don't do drugs for my back. I don't do opioids. I don't sit around and eat ice cream on the couch, which is what some people told me I should be happy with because that's all I would be able to do with my back problem. But I'm happy to say that exercise got me out of it. I could only swim for about 3 years after I had my accident, but I was able to work up very slowly to doing everything else again.
Yeah, and I gotta ask, I'm from the Bloomington area, so I'm not really up in Duluth, but what was your opinion? How did you like the accent up there that the Duluth people had, the Minnesota accent?
Oh, they thought I had an accent. They're from Columbus, Ohio. I was a Buckeye, and they made fun of my talk big time. But actually, I love
Yeah.
Duluth, Minnesota. I worked for the CBS affiliate up there, KDLH
Mhm.
TV, and I was a reporter and then became a morning anchor just before I left there. So
Yeah.
it was a wonderful place.
I always say it's beautiful during the winter. I mean, it's beautiful during the fall and the springtime, but yeah, do not go up there between November and April because yeah, you're not gonna have a fun time, especially with those roads. I mean, I've had friends that have gone up to college up there and just going up and visited them. Yeah, That's not a fun time up there in the winter because those roads
Yeah,
are.
but they know how to do that snow removal up there
Yeah,
in Duluth.
yeah,
And
that's
I
true.
love those hills in Duluth
Yeah,
too.
that's
Kind
true.
of a small
That's
San
true.
Francisco.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Duluth is definitely a special place, and a lot of people don't know about it. So everyone, if you're in the area, go and visit it at least once or twice. It's a great place. But when
Yeah,
you
go
were,
see the aerial lift bridge.
oh yeah, that's one of the best parts too, and just seeing all those steamers come in and just yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great sight. But when you were getting started in your anchoring, what would you say is probably the biggest thing that you had to overcome when it came to reporting the news? I mean, what was your biggest struggle?
Boy, my biggest struggle, I was living the dream.
Hmm.
So you have to understand when I was at Ohio State and I was majoring in broadcast journalism, that's all I did for the last 2 years of college was report, anchor, and do stuff. Now all of a sudden I moved to Duluth and I'm getting paid to do it. So I don't know if I really struggled with anything. It sounds conceited, but I'm honestly trying to think of what I would have struggled with. And I think that might have been maybe eventually, well, just learning the ropes, just, being professional and learning the ropes. But it was just amazing to all of a sudden be getting paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really learned through this is just how important it is to just be careful with your words and kind of know what you're saying like a minute ahead of time just to make sure that you're not sounding that you have that proper sound. Was that something that I mean in college you probably had a lot of work on that, but is that something that you ever still struggled with where sometimes you're just like, okay, I got to make sure that I'm not sounding like a simple person, that I got to be a little bit more articulate. I got to have a little bit of
Actually, quite the opposite. When you're in TV news, you actually want to sound simple.
okay.
And what I mean by that is you don't want to use big words. You want to talk like you and I are talking right now. So that's what I loved about TV news was it was how I'm talking to you now is how you want to relate to a viewer at home.
Oh, okay.
In TV news, no, you really want to write how you talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important to think about.
Well, we learn something new every day on the podcast. That's what I gotta say. And now going back to sort of your fit journey, one of the things that I did realize when I sort of got into really good shape and I started working out in college was that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. I mean, I'm still at home with my parents for the next couple of months, and whenever they come home, I'm the one who carries in all the groceries. I know that you have back problems, but still, do people assume that just the way that you look, that you can do favors for them, like you can, help them move or help them do things?
What an interesting question, because I have often felt like I am discriminated against, but in the opposite way. In other words, people see me and they think, oh, well, she's got it all together, or, oh, well, she could do this for me. Guess what? I can't, because I actually have a disability on my entire right side of my body. So there are so many things I can't do, but people think I can do. And this is not to belittle anybody in a wheelchair by any means. I have the utmost respect for anybody that has physical or mental issues, because it is such a problem. But when you see someone and you think they're okay, or you go to a doctor's office and you say, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Oh, you look fine to me. You know, you do experience a kind of a reverse discrimination. So it's hard, but people that know me know, hey, I could never help you move, or I can't lift that. Or, you know, even my mom, who's 85 years old, we'll go to the grocery store together and she'll be like, oh, well, let me get that, Lynda. You know, she'll be helping me because she knows what I've been through. So,
I mean, it's one of those things too, where I love to have people on and talk about their stories, because like I said, you wouldn't really know from looking at you that you've had something like that happen to you and that you wouldn't be able to do this stuff. So it's just so great to just have people on and tell those stories. But what is probably the biggest misconception that people who are muscular or people who are in really great shape like you, what is probably the biggest misconception that you think the general public has about people like you?
That it's easy. I think people think, oh, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And you know what? They can. But here's the problem. They think, okay, I'm going to get in shape. They get in shape maybe in 6 months. Maybe they lose that 10 pounds they've been wanting to lose, and they do look better. Their clothes do fit better. Well, you got to keep it up. What happens is we're like, okay, I've got this under control. I can go eat popcorn at the movie theater anytime, and I can do this, and I can eat more now. And they lose it, and it comes back. And it's just a vicious cycle. So if you want it, you got to keep on doing it over and over and over again. You have to be excited about it.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Like my guilt. I mean, I hate shows like Biggest Loser, where they had these contestants come on, they have them lose 200 pounds, and the next thing you know, after the show, these people have gained 250 pounds, so they're even heavier than they were when they started, because all they do is they have these people exercise for 12 hours a day, and obviously you're going to lose weight like that, but they don't teach them how to keep it off. They just say, you know what, your goal is just to lose as many pounds as possible so you can win that cash prize, and then next thing you know, all these people have gained the weight back, because like I said, like you were just saying, you have to learn ways on how to keep it off. The diet and the nutrition is 80 to 90% of all of the work that you will ever do. I mean, like they always say, abs are made in the kitchen. All of that stuff is absolutely true. You need to learn the ways on how to keep it off. Otherwise, you are just delaying the inevitable, and you're just going to look good for maybe like a month before you start to put on all that weight back. So really, all that hard work is almost down for nothing. So everyone out there, you just got to find the ways to also, you know, keep that weight off. And another huge thing too is the mental aspect of it. People, I've had some of the most in shape people on the planet on, and some of the reasons why they did get in shape was because they're like, I felt bad about myself, I wanted to feel better about myself. You need to make sure that the mental aspect is there as well as the physical aspect, because otherwise, I've had people that have lost so much weight and they look great, and then they're still like, I still don't feel good about myself. I still don't, you know, feel good, even though I am in such great shape. That mental aspect needs to go along with the physical aspect too, because you can be the most in shape person on the planet and you can still feel that you have insecurities and that you may not look as good. But one of the things that I do love to ask, I mean, and again, this is a multi-million-dollar idea for anyone out there. When it comes to clothes for fit women, especially in women in shape, I mean, for guys, they have their own different clothing issues. Sometimes your clothing options can be limited. Like I always like to say, if you have really broad shoulders, dresses sometimes aren't your best friend. Jeans are another thing that we hear about all the time. What are some ways that you sort of compensate for the fact that your clothing options at times can sometimes be limited as opposed to someone else's?
I have had that problem actually all my life, though, partially because I'm short, and partially because I always have had broad shoulders, even when I was 5 years old, 10 years old. So you just buy what you can, make it work, and get it altered. Sometimes you might have to buy a bigger size and get it altered in the waist, or get it altered somewhere else. So you just make do. But yeah, why don't you start a clothing business?
Well, that's what I've always said. I mean, I've had two fashion designers on the show too, and I always told both of them, I said, hey, I have had, you know, like almost 100, you know, health and fitness people on, guys and girls, make clothing options for them because they're more than willing to pay. I was like, that's the next big idea, so get on it. And they haven't gotten back to me yet, but I always like to say, you know, that's free money basically, because so many people that I'm talking to just really, really need that. So I couldn't agree more with you on that. And I just gotta say, it's been the cutest thing. Like this whole time we've been talking, your dog, has just been sitting on the side of the chair down there, and we could just see it in the background. Is the cutest. That is the cutest thing. So like during the video, I'm just gonna like make like a little arrow at some point and be like, oh my god, her dog or what? What kind of dog do you have?
That's Millie, and she is a golden doodle. She is and her birthday is coming up on December 7th.
Oh, well, happy early birthday, Millie. I mean, I have a Cavachon myself, so it's just a little 10-pound dog. But yeah, I'm one of the hugest dog lovers you'll ever meet. I'm one of those people where if I get invited over to someone's house, I'll spend 75% of the time with their dog just because.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I have a Cavalier King Spaniel Charles too, or Cavalier
wow.
King Charles. Yeah. She's Roxy, and I think she might be sleeping somewhere else.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know about like Cavachons, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Cavalier King. I mean, just those, and the Cavachon that we have still has those Cavalier King Charles long ears, and they have like the big droopy eyes that they have. That's some of the cutest things. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a huge fan of the breed, 100%. Now, hopefully Millie can't hear this, but what is your favorite thing about your dog and least favorite thing about your dog?
Millie or Roxy?
We'll go with Millie. Yeah.
Okay, Millie, my favorite thing is her gentle spirit. Mm-hmm. And least favorite, I don't think I have a least favorite.
Well, I'll give my least favorite for my dog because she may be super small, but she will bark at anything and she will go absolutely crazy. I mean, we have been trying to train her. She's 2.5 years old. We've been trying to work on it, but like even if she'll see, even if there's I'll give an example. So, like, we put up our Christmas tree last night. About an hour, she was just barking insanely at the thing, and then we had to, like, sort of just be like, okay, you gotta stop doing that. And then I work nights at UPS, so sometimes I'll come home, like, at midnight, and then until she recognizes who I am, it'll be 5 minutes of barking, and then we'll just be like, okay, you gotta stop now. Yeah,
you always wonder if she has a problem with the sense of smell or something, because she should smell you and know it's you.
Well, sometimes, like, if I'm all dressed up, and then, like, you can't really, like, see my face, even though... Or one time, like I said, like I came home and I was just all covered in snow and she got really upset. But like, yeah, she's a very protective dog for a dog that's that small because then as soon as something gets really close to her, she'll just like get on her back and sort of like submit to it as soon as she comes up. So, I mean, but yeah, she is a genuine sweetheart. She's very, very protective. But now we go to our audience favorite and my favorite part of the podcast, a little questionnaire. I'm going to ask Lynda here about a dozen or so questions and see how she stacks up to some of our other guests. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song at the moment?
I don't really have one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
Because I got to tell you a quick story here. I never use iPods or anything like that, and I think that comes from covering some terrible crime stories where people had headphones in.
Yeah.
And so I never got into that habit. So I love to work out to music, but I don't have a favorite song.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I mean, I have a problem where I listen to like Metallica or Iron Maiden sometimes just to get pumped up, but like I said, I have a gym at my house, so like 75% of the time I work out there, but when I do go to a normal gym, I sometimes have to wait for the beat to drop, so I'll just be like this, like say I'm doing lat pull downs, I'll be waiting like this, and then people walk up to me like, what the heck are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm waiting for the beat to drop. Give me like 15 more seconds. So yeah, that's my one thing. But if you were to talk to almost any news anchor or reporter, they always have that one story that they really enjoy the most. Do you have one story that really comes to mind that you really enjoyed covering the most?
That's hard because I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I covered a lot of scary stories. Yeah. But actually it helped prepare me for life. I remember I would go to the courthouse and a few of the detectives there who I would talk to all the time because I was a crime beat reporter at one point told me, Lynda, you're never going to be a victim of a crime. I said, what are you talking about, Mike? It was Detective Mike McKenna. And he said, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, nobody's going to mess with you. And I thought, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Suspects want victims who are easy, who are walking slowly, who look unsure of themselves. So, that's always stuck with me. So I can't say I have a favorite story, but I've covered a lot.
Yeah. Well, and we actually have an interesting guest coming on early next week. He was, when he was a kid, he was sexually abused by John Wayne Gacy when he was 9 or 10 years old. So, I mean, yeah, I know it's not the greatest subject matter, but that just, when you're talking about true crime, I really was thinking about it. And he wrote a book about it, and he's become now a pretty famous author. So he's really taken that tragedy and sort of, really helped him build up. And then, he served in Vietnam too, and that, it's just a whole thing. So so I'm really excited to have him on. But yeah, when you were saying like crime, And that just really got me thinking about him. But yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine too covering all of that crime too. I mean, what were some things during that era that you really did to sort of bring some joy to your life? Because I couldn't think, covering all that crime. Sometimes I would probably have gotten into a more downbeat mood. Were there any things that you did to sort of take you away from that, to sort of bring the mood back up?
Yeah, I worked out.
Yep.
Every night when I'd get off the air, I'd go work out. I mean, it was my mental therapy as well. Yeah. So, I constantly worked out. That was my way to feel better about everything.
And that's a great thing too. Another tip for working out too is that it really raises your endorphins, makes you feel great.
Yep.
But now going back to our questionnaire, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could work out with any celebrity, who would it be?
Maybe J-Lo.
J-Lo, yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'd probably do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger just because it's Arnold, and that would be just unbelievable to work out with him.
Yeah.
But now, what is?
But also, have you heard of Pauline Nordine? I love her.
Yep.
She's So I guess I would scratch J-Lo and say Pauline because
2 weeks. Two weeks she's coming on.
My gosh!
Yeah,
well, she's helped me. She's helped me with my diet.
Yeah.
So she's cool.
Yeah,
I love her.
So about 2 months ago, I had one of the girls that's really good friends with her, who's from Switzerland, and was in the LA area and really got to know her. And then I was like, hey, you might want to give me a mention to Pauline. She's like, yeah, absolutely. And so then I've been emailing Pauline back and forth, and yeah, she's coming on in about 2 weeks, and I'm really really excited about that. And I was like, yeah, she was.
I bet
she was a personal trainer for Biggest Loser UK, and then I was like, okay, that's really cool. But yeah, she's a great inspiration for everyone. So yeah, I'll definitely send you the link to that podcast when it gets released because it's
she's one of my favorite human beings in the world
she's
too.
So nice too.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Just from talking to her, just from emailing with her, I can just tell that she's just a genuine great person. I mean, 100%. But now, what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
One item I need to have lettuce, spinach.
Ooh, that brings back horror stories from my childhood. I was not a fan of lettuce or spinach, but yeah, that's and honestly, that is the first time we've ever had that answer on this show. You're gonna be like the 90th health and fitness guest that we've had on. That's the first time usually it's like chicken or egg whites, but one of the big surprising answers I had was mustard because apparently mustard has like 0 calories, 0 fat.
Well, Pauline likes that.
Yep.
Too.
So bodybuilders put that on their chicken and they put that on it just to bring it a little bit of flavor. And I was like, I didn't even told them. Every time I hear that, I'm like, okay, you might want to reevaluate your life if you're having to put mustard on your chicken to make it feel good. But whatever they do to make them happy, I support it completely. But now, what is one thing that people who follow you on Instagram would be surprised to know about you if they met you in person?
They would be unusually surprised about. I don't know. That's a tough one. Mm-hmm. Because you know why it's tough?
Yeah.
Because I'm extremely honest in all my posts. I say what I feel, and I'm an open book. And I really don't hide anything.
Well, one thing that we get a lot is like height, because a lot of people that come on, some people might assume that they're like really, really tall just because of the photos that they take, and then they're like, oh, when you meet me in person, I'm like 5 feet tall, and that's sort of I'm the opposite, where people might think I'm short, but I'm actually 6'3". So when people meet me, they're like, oh wow, you're actually like really tall. So I was like, yeah, I get that a lot. So yeah, height is definitely probably.
Yeah, I even talk about my height all the time.
Well, yeah, everyone, she covers everything. She's got everything covered, so she keeps, and that's a good thing too, because like I was mentioning a little bit before, like I love having people on Instagram because I feel like they don't really share their stories so much on Instagram. Like you can a story you can really just type out, but people don't really get it. But hearing it face to face and seeing that like these people are just actual human beings, because a lot of people just look at them and they just look at their photos and they're not able to realize like there's an actual person behind that. So I love to have them come on and just share their stories.
I think also if you are on Instagram and you want to be liked and you want people to like your information, I think it's your duty to let people know who you are.
Yep.
So that's what I do. Yep. And I like to write about just my life and experiences and everything. And so I think that's what Instagram is for, is to express ourselves. So everyone should try to do that in their own way.
If you could change one thing about competing, what would it be?
The tan, but also it's so subjective. Mm-hmm. If there was more of a strict, like, here's what we want to see, instead of, oh, we like her, or we like him, or we like the color of her eyes, or whatever. Sometimes you wonder.
Yep.
And that's not sour grapes. I think everybody thinks that way sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes, I mean, I haven't really got into like the results of bodybuilding until like probably like a year ago when I started, thinking about having some guests maybe come on. But it got to the point where I was just like, yeah, almost every competition there's some results where you're just like, oh, why did that person win over that person, or why vice versa. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think the only way to solve is like in the future where you just have like everyone just get like their body scanned and like see like who's the most proportionate person, and like have like a machine decide it where they're
that would be
they're
cool.
like calculating the results where like this person's the most proportionate. So
Yeah, we wouldn't have to hit the stage then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's that's probably my ideal vision 20 years from now. So if that does happen, you can always say that it came from me first. But now this is probably the most important question I'll ever ask you. What is your favorite TV show of all time?
My favorite TV show of all time, it's going to age me, but I think it's I Love Lucy, if I have to say that. I mean, I know. Do you even know who that is?
Of course I know. Okay, so my major in college, I was a business major, but a minor in history. So I wanted to do a history major, but I didn't want to, become a teacher, and that's really the only thing you can really do with a history major. So, but yeah, anything historical. I mean, Twilight Zone is probably my favorite TV show of all time.
Oh, okay, yeah, Twilight Zone.
So yeah, I mean, all those older shows I absolutely love. I mean, when I was growing up, we had Leave It to Beaver reruns were on all the time, so I'd watch that, or I'd watch like the Partridge.
Something about comforting. There's something comforting about reruns and black and white reruns. Mm-hmm. Even though I wasn't even alive when those shows were first airing, I've never even seen them until reruns. But something about them, and I love 1940s movies, and I don't know why. I'm always drawn to like the sets, the decor, the clothing, something about it. I like the 1940s old movies.
Yeah, Lauren Bacall is one of my favorite actors of all time. And, and To Have and To Have Not, I saw that actually like a few weeks ago, and that was actually really, really good. But yeah, those 40s, Casablanca, I mean, yeah, you could get going on and on about that. Have
you ever seen the Thin Man series, like with William Powell and Myrna Loy? I love those. They're so cute.
Well, and plus, like I always like to say, whenever people bring that up and they're like, "Oh, those movies, they had terrible graphics," or whatever, I was like, "Yeah, because imagine the graphics back in the 1940s. First of all, it was during the war, so it's like you're not really gonna be focused too much on that. And they made up for it with their great acting. The acting back then is so much better than it was now. You could really tell that they were actually like trying to act. Whereas some actors nowadays, you can tell that they're just doing it for a paycheck, where they're just like, "Oh, let me just deliver my lines just so I can get paid." And let the effects take over. So, 100%. But now, what is a guilty pleasure movie that you enjoy?
Right now, I've been watching Miracle on 34th Street before I go to bed. And what I mean by that is I'll put it on for 20 minutes and then feel sleepy and then turn it off. And then the next night I'll watch the rest, another 20 minutes. So that's what I've been doing lately. But I really love Rear Window.
Oh, yeah.
I could watch that over and over again. I like some of those movies like that.
That's one of those movies that I mean, Hitchcock, is just an absolute genius, and I love that movie. And I got mad actually the last party I was at because people were talking about the movie Suspiria and how original it was, and people don't realize that the movie Suspiria is an absolute remake of Rear Window, except it had like Shia LaBeouf in it and it had some other guys. Where it's a shot-for-shot almost remake, except this time it's a kid. This time it's a kid who's on house arrest as opposed to an older guy. So then he like spots a murder happening in this. So yeah, I got mad. I was like, you guys don't realize that's an absolute remake of Rear Window, one of the great movies of all time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's simplicity of it. But for me, I mean, all my guy friends, close your ears. I don't want you to hear this, but Princess Bride is probably my guilty pleasure movie. I'll have that on. That's one of my movies where I can quote almost all of it. And I was even writing my thesis paper in college, and it came on, so I had to pause my thesis for about 2 hours to watch it. So. Yeah,
I can quote a lot of Harvey. Do you know what Harvey is?
Yep. Absolutely.
Jimmy Stewart, I love that one.
Oh yeah, anything, Jimmy Stewart, anything with Jimmy Stewart. I mean, now especially It's a Wonderful Life is going to be coming on a lot now, and that's just I mean, I could watch that 100,000 times, and still get joy from it 100%. And I saw the colorized version of it, and that really didn't. I mean, I didn't really like it. Yeah, it's
too distracting because the colorized version, their teeth look blue and. It doesn't work.
And they don't get all the colors just right. Like, some colors will still be black and white in the background. They didn't get every single thing, so that's why it looks a little off, and you're like, that's funny. But, yeah, It's a Wonderful... I mean, great, great movie. But now, what is one... I mean, if you could go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
Best piece of advice I would give myself at 18 years old. It's going to work out. Calm down. It's going to work out.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, when you're
Because I'm a worrier.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty big one too. I mean, so that's one of the things too. But for me, also, it'd be like you're not going to be able to please everyone because I was a big
Yeah.
people pleaser back then. I mean, it's only 6 years ago, but like, yeah, it's gonna work out. Everything's gonna work out. I mean, all of the fears and anxieties that you have. I mean, you're gonna look back at them and say, wow, how naive and stupid I was to even worry about that type of stuff. Where, but that's just being young, and that's just one of those things that you have to deal with. So what is one thing that you would die to have if it went up for auction?
If it went up for auction, I would like to have Oprah Winfrey's closet. How about that? I don't know.
That's a good one. That's the first. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it'd be something like the Declaration of Independence or anything like that. Like if it went up for auction, I would just do anything to have that. And I also forgot one of our other questions. So this is our official last question then for the questionnaires. What is your favorite fashion trend of all time and least favorite fashion trend of all time?
I think my favorite fashion trend would be low-rise jeans because it makes me look taller because I'm so short. And my least favorite would probably be the bell bottoms. Remember those with the big? I can't wear those.
I am so glad that I was born after that era happened because I see those now and I was like, God, how did people? I mean, I do admit though, like I watched my parents' old wedding video and they got married in '91, and just the hair back then was so much better than it is now. I'm sorry, I'm a fan of like those mullets that some of the guys were rocking, especially the classy ones, where they went down, not like the shaggy ones, but the ones where you could clearly tell that it was cut great up front and back down. But yeah, that's the one. I mean, we had one of my friends, my senior year in high school, decided to grow it out for football season, and that was awesome. But yeah, that stuff definitely needs to make a comeback. But for me, my favorite fashion trend, it's got to be flannel. I mean, it looks good, but also for the fact that when you're up in Minnesota and it gets to like negative 20 degrees, like what I'm talking about, being up in Duluth, where you got to be very, very comfortable in your clothes. And my least favorite, Uggs. I gotta say, Uggs or fanny packs, because my dad used to rock a fanny pack in the late '90s. So I was like, I look back at that now and I was like, Dad, what were you thinking? But now I also got to ask, we're done with the questionnaire part, but I also got to ask, being that you were in Minnesota and also you were in Ohio too, when it comes to cold weather, what are some of your tips or tricks that you use to still be able to work out in the cold weather? Because like I always like to say, if it gets like negative 20 degrees outside, all your body's telling you let's just stay inside by a fire and just relax for the whole day. What are some ways that you sort of motivate yourself in order to get that workout in?
I motivate myself by simply putting my clothes out the night before. I know if I maybe wake up and don't feel like working out, if I put on my workout clothes, I got to go work out. That's kind of a psychological thing. So yeah, I'm always ready to work out. But the thing is, for me, I go in the morning. That's a huge deal. There's no excuse that you can make throughout the day to not go. So you don't even think about it. You get up, you get dressed into your workout outfit, and you drink coffee, and you go work out.
Absolutely. So it also says in your bio that you're an author. Are there any books that you've written, or are you currently working on anything?
Let's see. So when I couldn't be a TV anchor anymore, because of my back, I ended up going to garage sales and buying things and selling it online and stuff like that. And I wrote a book on how to sell your stuff. So it's called The Garage Sale Gal's Guide to Making Money Off Your Stuff. Before that, I had also been a columnist for the Arizona Republic. I wrote a column once a week for the Arizona Republic on garage sales because out here in Arizona, I'm telling you, garage sales are a sport. It is huge money. It is a competition out here. So people like their garage sales. So I turned it into kind of a business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll leave a link down below for everyone too if you want to buy your book. Is it available like on Amazon and other places like that?
It is. Garage Sale Gal's Guide to Making Money Off Your Stuff.
Absolutely. So I will leave a link below on Amazon for to buy it on all these links down below. Anyone go out there and buy it. Personally, that also brings me to a fun, quick little topic. So I used to work at an auction house when I was about a year ago. I worked there for a summer, and that was an interesting experience in and of itself. We didn't do what we would do is I would take photos of the stuff and then type it into sort of like our version of eBay. It was like K-bid, and then people would then bid on it, and then they'd come and pick it up. Like you couldn't buy anything there. But yeah, just learning all of that stuff. Yeah, it can be a gold mine. We had guys that would come in who knew their stuff. They would buy people's like old wedding rings if they got divorced, and they'd sell them to us. They would buy that stuff for probably about a tenth of what they'd get for it, if they sold it to if they went to a jeweler and tried to resell it. So yeah, if you know your stuff, it can be a very, very lucrative and profitable enterprise if you really want to get into it. So anyone out there, I highly recommend even looking. And I was able to take advantage of that a little bit. I'm still selling some of the stuff that I bought for there for really, really cheap. I'm still selling some of that stuff on eBay and making a decent amount of money on it. So yeah, it's definitely something that you really need to get into. Like, for instance, probably my favorite thing was that I bought. I'm a huge Vikings fan, so they had a whole set of Vikings team jerseys, and I bought them for, I think it was like $3 each, and each of those things are valued at like $40. So I was like, yeah, that was a pretty good. And the guy just really wanted to get rid of him, so we ended up selling them for that cheap. But yeah, it's just get into it, get in on that. It's awesome. And so, at what point in your life did you think that you really? Oh, hang on. Okay, see, I messed up again. See, that's the problem. Now, no worries at all. So I got 2 final questions here, and then so in 3, 2, 1. So if I were to talk to you again in a year, what would be your main goal of what you would like your life to look like? What changes do you think you would make if we were to talk a year from now?
I want to learn to meditate, and I want to be a better person and a more patient person, and just work on being a better me every day.
That's what I can say. Always find ways to be a better version of yourself every day. If you do that, you will be great, and you will have a very great and joyful life. And now for our last question on the show, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to, any specific person that you would really like to give recognition to?
I would say the person who we were talking about earlier, and that's Pauline Nordine. I just think she is fabulous. She is somebody that everyone should follow on Instagram and anywhere they can. She gives the best advice, not just in terms of nutrition, not just in terms of fitness, but in terms of overall life. I mean, she is an incredible human being. And I know I sound like her PR person, but she is just one heck of a woman. She really is.
Absolutely.
I hope I can be half as she is, half as wonderful as she is when I grow up.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be your PR person now. So everyone go and follow Lynda on Instagram down below. I'll leave all of the links. Like she said before, she's so open and honest, and I really do believe that is so great to have, especially on platforms like Instagram, where people can just seem like they're just trying to promote themselves so much, but where you have someone who's really just truthful and genuinely honest. That is such a great thing. So everyone, go and follow her down below. Like I said, link to her book. I really think that's interesting. I'm probably going to go pick up a copy right after we're done recording this podcast, because that does sound really awesome. And again, you guys, go and follow her. Everything. I really, really appreciate having you on. You have such an amazing story, and it was so great to learn from. And again, we cannot thank you enough. You were a great guest. And again, everyone, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.